In 1980, 8% of the world's adults had diabetes. Today, that number has more than quadrupled. More than 500 million human beings are living with diabetes at this very moment. And here is the part that should stop you cold. Most of them did not see it coming. They were living normal lives, eating what everyone else was eating, working the same jobs, raising families, sleeping through the night. And then one day, a routine blood test, a number on a screen. And their world changed completely. Now, here is what I need you to understand before this video goes any further. Type 2 diabetes is not simply about sugar. It is not just about being overweight. It is not a punishment. It is not a life sentence. And it is absolutely not inevitable. What if the real story of type 2 diabetes is far more complex, far more interesting, and far more hopeful than anything you've ever been told? Stay with me, because in the next 20 minutes, I am going to take you on a journey through the true origins of this condition. What is actually happening inside your body? What research is now revealing about reversal? And what specific steps, starting today, can change the direction of your health completely? My name is Ms. Wong, and this is the complete truth about type 2 diabetes. To understand type 2 diabetes, we need to go back. Not 10 years, not 100 years. We need to go back 200,000 years, to when the human body was first designed. Our ancient ancestors moved constantly. They hunted. They walked 15 to 20 kilometers every single day. They climbed, they sprinted, they lifted, they carried. Food was not guaranteed. Some days they ate abundantly, other days nothing. And so the human body evolved an extraordinary survival system. When food arrived, particularly carbohydrates and sugars from fruit, roots, and honey, the body would rapidly convert them into energy and store any excess as fat for later for survival. Now, here is where the story takes a critical turn. In the last 100 years, and especially in the last 50, something changed dramatically. Not in our genetics, not in our biology, but in our environment. Food became cheap. Food became processed. Food became available 24 hours a day. Sugar, which our ancestors consumed perhaps a few times per season, became something we consume multiple times per day, every single year. And our ancient survival system, the one built for scarcity, did not know what to do with this. So let us talk about what actually happens inside the body, because understanding this changes everything. When you eat carbohydrates, bread, rice, pasta, sweets, fruit, juice, or anything starchy, your digestive system breaks them down into glucose. Simple sugar. That glucose enters your bloodstream. Your blood sugar rises. And your pancreas, a small but extraordinarily important organ behind your stomach, releases a hormone called insulin. Think of insulin as a key. Its job is to unlock the door to your cells so glucose can enter, and your body can use it for energy. In a healthy body, this works beautifully. Blood sugar rises. Insulin is released. Cells open. Glucose enters. Blood sugar normalizes. Perfect. But here's what happens when this system is overwhelmed. When blood sugar spikes too often, too high, too frequently, your cells begin to do something remarkable. They start ignoring the knock. They stop responding to insulin. They close their doors. This is called insulin resistance. And when your cells stop responding to insulin, your pancreas does the only thing it knows how to do. It makes more insulin, more keys, knocking harder. And for a while this works. The cells reluctantly open. Blood sugar stays in a manageable range. And you feel completely normal. This is the silent phase. This is why millions of people have no idea. Because for years, sometimes over a decade, the body compensates quietly, working overtime, exhausting itself. And then one day, the pancreas can no longer keep up. Insulin production drops. Blood sugar climbs. And stays high, persistently, chronically. That is type 2 diabetes. Not a sudden event, but the final result of years, sometimes decades, of silent stress is placed on the body's blood sugar management system. Now you might be wondering, what causes insulin resistance in the first place? And this is where the science gets genuinely fascinating. For decades, the conversation around type 2 diabetes has centered on one thing: sugar. Eat less sugar. Drink less soda. Avoid sweets. And yes, this matters. But the real picture is far more complex. And if we only focus on sugar, we miss most of the story. Because here is something that surprises most people. Overweight. You can develop it without being overweight. You can develop it while exercising regularly. You can develop it while eating what appears to be a healthy diet. Why? Because insulin resistance has multiple drivers, and they are all connected. The first driver is excess visceral fat. Not all fat is the same. There is subcutaneous fat, the fat you can see and pinch beneath your skin. And then there is visceral fat. Fat that accumulates deep inside the abdomen, around and inside your organs, around your liver, around your pancreas, around your intestines. This visceral fat is metabolically active. It releases inflammatory signals. It directly interferes with insulin signaling. And critically, visceral fat can accumulate inside a body that appears relatively slim on the outside. This is sometimes called toafai. Thin on the outside, fat on the inside. The second driver is chronic inflammation. When the body is in a state of low-grade chronic inflammation, inflammatory molecules directly block insulin signaling at the cellular level. They physically interfere with the key and lock mechanism, making insulin resistance worse, making blood sugar regulation harder. The third driver is sleep deprivation. This one shocks almost everyone. A single night of poor sleep can measurably reduce insulin sensitivity the following day. Studies have shown that sleeping fewer than 6 hours per night consistently is associated with significantly elevated diabetes risk. Why? Because during deep sleep, the body performs hormonal rebalancing. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is suppressed. Growth hormone, which supports metabolic repair, is released. Insulin sensitivity is restored. When sleep is chronically disrupted, the entire repair process is incomplete. Night after night, year after year, the fourth driver is chronic stress. When you are under stress, your body releases cortisol. Cortisol's job in an emergency is to raise blood sugar rapidly to give you fuel to fight or flee. This is brilliant in a genuine emergency. But in modern life, stress is not occasional, it is constant. And cortisol, elevated day after day, keeps blood sugar chronically elevated, keeps insulin being demanded chronically. It directly contributes to insulin resistance over time. The fifth driver is sedentary behavior. Muscle tissue is one of the body's largest consumers of glucose. When you move, when muscles contract, they absorb glucose from the bloodstream directly, even without insulin. This is one of the most powerful natural tools the human body has for blood sugar management. But when you are sedentary for most of the day, this enormous glucose sink is closed. Glucose has nowhere to go. Blood sugar stays elevated. Insulin is demanded continuously. The sixth driver is ultra-processed food. This goes beyond sugar alone. Ultra-processed foods, foods manufactured with industrial ingredients, emulsifiers, artificial flavors, refined carbohydrates, seed oils, and added sugars, are designed to be consumed quickly and in large quantities. They digest rapidly, they spike blood sugar sharply, they disrupt gut bacteria, which play a role in glucose metabolism. They are engineered to override your body's satiety signals. So you eat more often, with a greater impact on blood sugar than whole foods ever would. Now imagine all 6 of these drivers happening simultaneously in the same person for 20 or 30 years. That is the modern diabetes epidemic. Not a mystery, not a genetic inevitability, but the predictable result of a mismatch between an ancient body and a modern world it was never designed for. Here's something important. Type 2 diabetes rarely announces itself dramatically. It does not usually arrive with pain or a collapse or an obvious emergency. Instead, it whispers. And most people mistake those whispers for normal life. Let me walk you through the signals your body may be sending. Excessive thirst and frequent urination. When blood sugar is high, the kidneys work overtime trying to filter glucose from the blood. This pulls water with it. You become dehydrated, you drink more, you urinate more. Many people simply assume they are not drinking enough water, or that getting up at night is a normal part of aging. It is not always that simple. Blurred vision. High blood sugar draws fluid from the lenses of the eyes, changing their shape and how they focus. This can come and go. Many people blame their age or their screens. Unexplained fatigue. If your cells cannot properly take up glucose, your body is essentially starving for energy despite having abundant sugar in the blood. This creates profound, persistent tiredness, the kind that does not go away with rest. Slow healing of wounds and cuts. High blood sugar damages blood vessels and impairs immune function. Small cuts that should heal in days take weeks to heal. Infections that should clear quickly persist. Tingling or numbness in the hands and feet. This is particularly important. When blood sugar has been elevated for extended periods, it begins to damage nerve fibers, starting with the longest ones, in the hands and feet. This tingling and numbness is called peripheral neuropathy, and once it begins, it is a sign that damage has been accumulating for some time. Constant hunger, even after eating. Because glucose cannot enter the cells properly, the body sends hunger signals continuously. Eat. Eat more. Something is wrong. And people respond by eating, often carbohydrates, which spike blood sugar further. And the cycle continues. I want to say this clearly. These symptoms alone do not confirm diabetes. Many of them have other causes. But if you are experiencing several of them consistently, a simple blood test, a fasting glucose and HbA1c can tell you where you stand. That test could change your life. Or save it. I want to talk about something uncomfortable now, because I think it is important. Because I think too many people are not told the full picture. What happens when type 2 diabetes is unmanaged or poorly managed over years and decades? Chronically elevated blood sugar is corrosive. Not in a dramatic way, not overnight, but it slowly and persistently damages the walls of blood vessels throughout the body. Large vessels, small vessels, tiny vessels. Every single organ in the body depends on blood vessels, which means every single organ is at risk. The heart. People with unmanaged type 2 diabetes have a significantly elevated risk of heart disease and stroke. Damaged blood vessels to the heart mean reduced blood flow, atherosclerosis, heart attack. The eyes. Diabetic retinopathy, damage to the tiny blood vessels that feed the retina, is one of the leading causes of preventable blindness worldwide. The kidneys. Diabetic nephropathy, kidney damage from chronically high blood sugar, is one of the leading causes of kidney failure worldwide, requiring dialysis or transplant. The feet and legs. Poor circulation, nerve damage, wounds that will not heal, and infections that spread. In severe cases, amputation. The brain. Research increasingly links poorly managed blood sugar to cognitive decline, to dementia, to what some researchers have started calling type 3 diabetes, because of the apparent connection between insulin resistance in the brain and Alzheimer's disease. I am not telling you this to frighten you. I am telling you this because these outcomes are not inevitable. They are preventable, They are manageable, and in many cases, they are reversible.
Now, we need to talk about something that was considered impossible 20 years ago. Something that is now backed by a growing and compelling body of research. Can type 2 diabetes be reversed? The answer, for many people, is yes. Not cured in the traditional sense. The underlying genetic predisposition does not disappear, but the condition can be brought into remission. Blood sugar can return to normal ranges. Medication can be reduced or, in some cases, eliminated under proper medical supervision. One landmark study, the DIRECT trial conducted in the United Kingdom, followed adults with type 2 diabetes through a structured dietary intervention. After 1 year, approximately half of participants had achieved remission. Normal blood sugar levels, without diabetes medication. After 2 years, many maintained that remission. Another research group, led by Professor Roy Taylor at Newcastle University, proposed what is now called the twin cycle hypothesis. The idea that through sustained caloric deficit can restore normal insulin production and insulin sensitivity. This is not theoretical. This has been demonstrated repeatedly in clinical settings. The critical word in all of this research is sustained. Short-term effort does not produce long-term remission, but consistent, meaningful lifestyle change over months and years can fundamentally alter the trajectory of this condition. So what does that change actually look like? Let us get specific, because this is where most videos stop being useful. Food is not just fuel. In the context of type 2 diabetes, food is information. Every meal sends a signal to your pancreas. Every meal either supports insulin sensitivity or challenges it. And I want to be very clear about something here. There is no single perfect diet for every person with type 2 diabetes. What research shows is that several different dietary approaches can work. And what they all share in common is far more important than what separates them. First, reduction of rapidly absorbed carbohydrates, refined carbohydrates, white bread, white rice, pasta, pastries, sugary drinks. Most packaged snack foods digest rapidly. They cause sharp, large spikes in blood sugar. They demand large surges of insulin. And over time, they accelerate insulin resistance. Reducing these foods consistently is one of the single most impactful changes a person with diabetes or prediabetes can make. Second, prioritizing non-starchy vegetables, leafy greens, spinach, kale, rocket, lettuce, cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, courgette, cucumber, peppers, asparagus, green beans. These foods are nutrient-dense, high in fiber, which slows digestion and blunts blood sugar spikes, and low in digestible carbohydrate. There is no credible evidence that eating more vegetables worsens diabetes. The evidence points firmly in the opposite direction. Third, adequate protein at every meal. Protein digests slowly. It has minimal direct impact on blood sugar. It increases satiety, meaning you feel full and satisfied for longer. It preserves muscle mass, which is your most important glucose-absorbing tissue. Include a protein source at every meal: eggs, fish, chicken, legumes, tofu, Greek yogurt, cheese, red meat in moderation. Fourth, healthy fats are not the enemy. For decades, fat was demonized, and in the process of removing fat from processed food, it was replaced with sugar and refined starch, which made metabolic health dramatically worse. Healthy fats from avocados, olive oil, nuts, seeds, fatty fish do not spike blood sugar. They slow digestion. They support cell membrane health. They improve satiety. Including moderate amounts of healthy fat in your diet is not dangerous for diabetics. In many cases, it is therapeutic. Fifth, what to reduce or eliminate: sugar-sweetened beverages, sodas, fruit juices, energy drinks, sweetened coffees. These deliver concentrated glucose directly into the bloodstream with no fiber to slow absorption. They are among the most damaging items for blood sugar management. Ultra-processed snack foods. White bread and refined grain products consumed in large quantities. Alcohol, which affects liver function and blood sugar regulation. If you want a practical starting point, fill half your plate with non-starchy vegetables. Fill 1/4 with quality protein. Fill the remaining quarter with complex, high-fiber carbohydrates, if you include carbohydrates at all. Add a small amount of healthy fat. Drink water, plain tea, or black coffee. This is not extreme. This is not a permanent punishment. This is a return to how human beings ate for most of their existence. If food is medicine for type 2 diabetes, exercise is the other prescription. And I would argue it is equally powerful. Here is the extraordinary thing about muscle contraction. When you exercise, when your muscles work, they absorb glucose from the bloodstream directly, without needing insulin. A completely separate pathway, one that bypasses insulin resistance entirely. This means that even in someone with severe insulin resistance, even in someone whose cells have largely stopped responding to insulin's signal, exercise opens a direct door. Glucose goes in, blood sugar falls, immediately, during exercise, and for hours afterward. Something as simple as a 20-minute walk after a meal can significantly reduce the blood sugar spike from that meal, not by a small amount. In many studies, post-meal walks reduce blood sugar peaks by 20 to 30%. Regular exercise, particularly resistance training, increases the number and efficiency of glucose transporters in muscle cells, making insulin work better, making cells more responsive. This effect accumulates over weeks, months, and years. Every kilogram of muscle you build is additional glucose-absorbing tissue, a larger metabolic sink, more capacity to clear blood sugar after meals. Resistance training, lifting weights, body weight exercises, resistance bands, is one of the most underutilized tools in diabetes management. Regular exercise, especially combined with dietary improvement, reduces the dangerous visceral fat around the organs, the fat that drives insulin resistance at its core. Now I know what some of you are thinking. I have not exercised in years. I have joint pain. I am too tired. I do not know where to start. And I hear you. Here is what the research supports as an accessible starting point. A 10-minute walk, 3 times per day, after each main meal. That is 30 minutes total, broken into 3 manageable pieces, accessible to almost everyone. And the blood sugar impact of those 3 short walks is remarkable. Start there. Build from there. Add resistance training 2 to 3 times per week as you grow stronger. The goal is not to look like an athlete. The goal is to make your muscles work. Every day. Because every time they work, they are doing work your pancreas no longer has to do alone. Diet and exercise get most of the attention. And they deserve it. But there are other factors that influence blood sugar management that are rarely discussed in a standard medical appointment. Not because they are unimportant, but because there is simply not enough time. Sleep. Poor sleep directly worsens insulin resistance the following day. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night is not optional advice for someone managing diabetes. It is a clinical necessity. Stress management. Chronic cortisol elevation keeps blood sugar elevated. Full stop. Someone who eats perfectly and exercises diligently, but lives under relentless, unmanaged stress, will struggle to achieve stable blood sugar control. Daily stress management practices, breathing techniques, meditation, time in nature, journaling, social connection, reducing news exposure, are metabolic interventions. They are not luxuries. They are part of the prescription. Hydration. The kidneys use water to filter excess glucose from the blood. Adequate hydration supports this process. Dehydration concentrates blood glucose. Drinking enough plain water throughout the day supports blood sugar stability. Social environment. Research consistently shows that social support, being part of a community that supports healthy behavior, is one of the strongest predictors of long-term lifestyle change success. Isolation, loneliness, and social disconnection are associated with worse health outcomes across almost every chronic disease, including diabetes. This is not a small detail. Who you spend time with, what behaviors your environment normalizes, how supported you feel in making changes. These things matter enormously. I want to address medication directly, because this is a video that emphasizes lifestyle, and I never want anyone watching to feel that medication is a failure or a weakness, or something to be ashamed of. For many people with type 2 diabetes, medication is necessary. It is appropriate. It saves lives. Metformin, the most commonly prescribed diabetes medication, has a long safety record. It works by reducing glucose production in the liver and improving insulin sensitivity. For many people, it is part of a comprehensive management strategy that includes lifestyle change. Newer classes of medications, SGLT2 inhibitors and GLP-1 receptor agonists, have shown not only blood sugar benefits, but cardiovascular and kidney protective effects. These are remarkable. Developments. The goal of lifestyle change is not to never need medication. The goal is to give your body the best possible foundation so that medication, when needed, can work as effectively as possible, and so that, over time, with sustained improvement, the amount of medication required may decrease. Always in partnership with your healthcare provider, never alone. Let me bring you back to where we started. 537 million people living with diabetes right now, and hundreds of millions more on the edge, in the silent phase, compensating, not yet knowing. If you are one of them, or if you love someone who is, I want you to hear this. This is not the end of the story. This is not a verdict. The human body, even after years of metabolic stress, retains a remarkable capacity for change, for healing, for adaptation. But it requires honesty about what we eat, about how we move, about how we sleep, about how we manage the weight of our daily lives. No one changes their health overnight. No one needs to be perfect. But everyone can take one better step today than they took yesterday. One walk, one meal with more vegetables, one earlier bedtime, one glass of water instead of a soda, one conversation with a doctor. Small, consistent changes, compounded over months and years, can move mountains. Your body has been working for you your entire life, even when the conditions were difficult, even when the signals were ignored. It has been trying. Now it is your turn to work for it. My name is Ms. Wong. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this video helped you, if it gave you something you needed to hear, please share it with someone you love. Because someone in your life right now may be in that silent phase, and they may not know it yet. Like this video. Subscribe for more honest health conversations, and leave a comment below. I read every single one. Take care of yourself and each other.